What is s.e.x.ual that you don't find attractive? When girls have long acrylic nails on and they're fingering themselves or someone else, I just know that does not feel nice at all. I got acrylic nails once, and mind you, a very conservative length, and I could not use basic thing properly. I had difficulty doing basic tasks like using the keyboard on my laptop. I could not function, and I mean it, and they managed to do that. I'm not sure if I should be impressed, concerned, or just flabbergasted. Those really fast masturbations you see in porn, I can just feel the dryness and scratches coming with it. Lesbian porn will literally make me angry. Like so angry I need to stop. Because of this, and because they eat pipsy like they're terrified of it. It's so obvious they're just doing it for men who don't know that absolutely nothing about poking the clitoris with the tip of your tongue feels good. I can only watch amateur. But even then, a lot of the time, it's still just videos of girls trying to look cute for their boyfriends. It irritates the favk out of me. Lem fow. Make porn for me and me only, goddammit. Those BDSM masks that cover your whole face except the mouth. I love BDSM, but that stuff is straight out of a horror movie. But hey, everyone has their thing. As I'm a perv but I've never played with masks, it's a method of sensory deprivation that reduces self-consciousness and heightens sensation wherever you're exposed. You don't have to think about yourself at all. The most personal, expressive part of you is hidden. In an outfit like that, your mission is clear. It's like a superhero suit for the extremely wally submissive. Last girlfriend dressed goth pop punk every day. It was super hot. One day she put on a Y outfit for us, but the lingerie did nothing for me because her everyday outfits were ire. Those Y outfits don't appeal to me because they all just look cheap. For example, if I went to a Lion's Den or whatever right now and browsed their shelves, there would be a few options. But if you look at the picture on the packaging, you'll notice that the costume doesn't even fit on their model. If my girl is willing to wear a Wonder Woman costume, I don't want to be distracted by the obvious gaps and wrinkles where there shouldn't be. If she's wearing a Catwoman costume, it had better be skin tight, not flopping around like bunny ears. The sound of my parents going at it while I try to enjoy a multiplayer match. I actually heard my parents go at it only twice in my life. First time, I was watching TV in my room, and my room is right next to theirs, so we share a wall, but I was watching TV, and I heard some noise that sounded like their bed was shaking. I didn't think much of it cause I just thought it was my dad's fat ass hitting the hay. The sound continues, and I start realizing that's they're doing it. 5 minutes later, I hear my dad having an orgasm. Second time, we lived in a 2-story house, and I was watching TV again, but this time in the living room. The living room is right underneath their room, so as I was watching TV, I hear the ceiling making creaking noises. You noting the sound making a pattern, then realize what my parents are doing. Few minutes later, I hear my dad have an orgasm. Both times I told my mom the next day what I heard and that I knew what was happening. The way I brought it up to my mom both times was once soon a time, there was a prince who was noticing some weird noise. She got embarrassed both times and we just laughed it off. When internet people gape their buttholes. God, I wish this wasn't so popular. I don't watch it, but sometimes it's unavoidable as it's not mentioned in the description, or worse yet, when it's the damn thumbnail for a video. Nothing the mood for the wife. And then when some horribly prolapsed anus is thrown in your face. I'm not knocking people's enjoyment. We find that stuff gross. Seriously, some of these women look like they should be having a medical emergency. Coprophilia eaters disgust me. What's the attraction? No idea at all. I had a very beautiful female friend who was an escort. She had one client who paid her to deliver her in Tupperware. They'd chat for 10 mins. He'd never touch her. Then was quite eager for her to leave, presumably to get to her alone. We never had any idea what he did with the. People can be weird. Pretty sure it being disgusting is the attraction, so it's kind of like saying exhibitionism is humiliating. So what's the attraction? Not a single coprophiliac will disagree that it's disgusting, and you calling it disgusting probably just makes it hotter to them. But to rationalize or analyze s.e.x.ual attraction or kinks beyond just reproductive missionary is a futile exercise. I don't understand gay either, and I just find men extremely unattractive. However, I get why coprophilia or urine would be at the top of kinks others find disgusting. Because it is disgusting, that's more or less the whole point. Just like pain or humiliation, both regarded as negative feelings, are the points of other kinks. Or piss is not my cup of tea, but I honestly understand physical pain even less, as that's like literally jolting my entire libido in reverse. I can't think of anything that turns me off more. Didn't have much childhood trauma. It started as a pee fetish and grew into this. I used to read a lot of erotica and it's very common in there, and the idea just never really turned me off. Then when I started becoming more Wally experienced, I would rim my partner's holes. There was a flavor and it wasn't horrible. Then the porn becomes more available, and one day I tried the taste of my own, found it was exactly the same taste as rimming. My wife is terrible at cleaning her bum, so every time she goes for I ask to lick her and it's actually really nice. I wouldn't do it for anyone, but I love everything about my wife and her taste one of my favorite things. I don't eat full logs or anything, but I would happily clean my wife's with my tongue and wouldn't care if it was very dirty. I know it's not mainstream, but it doesn't hurt anyone, so I don't get the hate behind it. Like, to me, rape fantasy is much worse than coprophilia. For me, it's not about domination, it's about love and loving every part of your partner. Also, very careful to wash my mouth out after and try not to swallow too much. By the way, if anyone here is disgusted by this and they have rimmed someone, well, guess what, buddy? You know what tastes like because it's exactly the same. Call me a freak all you want, but it doesn't bother me. I am comfortable in my wality. And it really doesn't matter if it's not everyone's cup of tea. But expect it to become more mainstream in the next few years. But I will admit part of the attraction is the taboo kinky element of it. Look at pee fetishes. They were so frowned upon 20 years ago. Not it's pretty common. A beautiful standing above your open mouth and you see her hole pucker up and open a little. Then it opens all the way and the turd squeezes out and drops in your mouth. You get that first amazing taste of, and then you chew and it starts to slip down your throat. It's the best when there is corn or other undigested food bits in the. Is there anything better in life? Baby talk and costumes. I like nudity and anything infantilizing is icky. Also anything involving food just no and all the fake moaning. I'm pretty straightforward. Rougher spitting. Doing it outdoors. I'm not really into anything that requires a lot of setup and planning though, so I'm not really into BDSM or roleplay. I think it's one of those heat of the moment intense things, like I need this totally wet because it's going to the back of my throat, or just visceral like you're kissing someone and it almost mildly pisses you off how bad you want them, like you've been robbed of your reason and you need them to be covered in all your fluids. I dunno, it's like primordially hot to me. I will say, I have virtually no sense of disgust. Like it triggers so rarely and randomly that it's negligible, and I think that's part of why. If I can tell my partner isn't having fun, it's a complete turn-off for me. My girlfriend's ex used to like seeing her cry during, calling her whore, etc. Luckily she told me this before we had for the first time. Now we only have really good, satisfying. Damn, my most liked thing ever. Thanks for the dopamine. Also, I didn't intend to kink shame anyone. As long as it's consensual, then have an amazing time. My girlfriend's ex was a real piece of. He left her with a lot of emotional damage. She still likes to be called a slut, but I only say that during, never outside of it. The girl I'm dating was rather surprised the first time when I told her that I wanted to make sure she had a good time. I told her I am more than open to feedback, and if she likes something I'm doing then tell me, and if she doesn't, don't hesitate to say no. I promised her that I would never get upset if she tells me no or to stop. She was definitely surprised by my statement, but I just looked at it as basic decency. I had a girl start crying one time when I was in college, and I was immediately done. Scared the out of me. Thankfully, it wasn't anything I had done. Being called an whore is one of my kinks though, so I asked my boyfriend to call me those whenever we're doing the deed. He even asked Price if it's really okay. So to lessen his worry, we have this thing every after. The sweet cuddles and I love yous. We affirm each other every after. He hugs and kisses me sweetly just to wear off the wildness from the deed. That's wild how much this resonates with so many women. My ex was the same. It was absolutely degrading at times, but the things you'll put yourself through in the name of love is astounding. It wasn't until my current boyfriend who showed me that there was an alternative to it. Is so much better now, something I actually enjoy and want all the time. It was traumatizing. Understood completely. My wife has back issues, and if she even hints at discomfort, it's probably going to cause me to wilt, at least a little, if not completely. The thought of her being in pain is not something I am cool with. She does say that she enjoys the pleasurable pain of having her cervix pounded during intercourse, but that's a totally different look, sound, reaction. So I guess the BDSM life will never be for me. Had something similar too. My ex rarely enjoyed white time. The first few weeks of our relationship was pretty normal, I would say around 2 or 3 times per week, and we were both happy, but after 2 months or so she did not enjoy it anymore. Sometimes she would cry because it hurt or something. That was a complete turn off, not only because she did not enjoy it, also because she did not want to change anything about that. It was just no, I don't like, so I don't have it, no matter how much I liked it half a year ago. I think we had around 4 or 5 times. More like tried to have the last year before we broke up. I tried everything to fix this, but she did not want to fix it, I guess. Sorry for the not so perfect English. What favk? I'm sorry on behalf of my entire gender. Dudes, stop being heads. You know who you are. Plus, in my experience, if you treat a s.e.x.ual partner good, they usually are more inclined to treat you better. I get you off better too. Just going out on a limb here, something is really favked up with our society that it makes people think that this is acceptable. How many dudes can't find the clit, for example? When the guy holds your head down while you're giving a blowjob so you can't go at your own pace. Can't speak for bipolar candage, but for me that is 100% fine and encouraged. For me you can even push or thrust a bit if you are predictable. Putting a hand on their head in a way that doesn't force them to do things and can be resisted is something they can not only get out of, but communicate non-verbally with. Holding someone's head down, especially if not consented to beforehand, puts them in a potentially painful situation and risks things like lack of breath or vomiting. The big difference here is that there is a means to stop, retreat, or take a pause if hands are just there, or if there is a light enough push that it can be easily. If there is that much force that they cannot stop and it isn't negotiated, it has someone in a position of non-consent like that, and where the only means they can easily get out if held down is to puke or to bite. If you ask your partner beforehand, maybe force is something they are fine with, it's likely not. This is one of my biggest problems with porn these days. There's absolutely nothing hotter than a woman trying to push herself to go deeper. To see her throat muscles strain and her eyes start to water is so fucking hot. But that almost never happens. Invariably, the guy starts holding her head, pulling her hair, or otherwise getting involved, which ruins it for me. Food in the bedroom and furries. No hate, just don't get it. Look, I enjoy dressing up as an animal, I won't lie. It's a hobby, but I cannot understand the s.e.x.ual aspect. I've spent thousands of dollars on my costumes, I'm not gonna let them get nasty and ruined with bodily fluids. The S are hot enough as is, without having any s.e.x.ual things going on. I don't get it either, unfortunately a furry. I think furries, BDSM have a lot of relation to sensory, social stuff. With BDSM, it's much clearer what you should be doing in any phase of fucking. With furries, frequently you're not doing a lot of talking in the suit, and you don't have to worry about reading other people's emotions. Your carefully chosen persona and very expensive suit advertise pretty much exactly the kind of person you are and what you're looking for, so it removes a lot of the bull from hooking up. That's easier for neurotypicals than neurospicy individuals. At least that's what my therapist and furry friends tell me. To be honest, I see the appeal of being a furry. I just absolutely could not wear one of those claustrophobia machines for any reason. There is a solid line between furries and zoophiles. You're talking about zoophiles here. Furries and fursuits are not s.e.x.ual, and they do not accept zoophiles into their community, and if they happen to do both, the real ones separate the two at conventions and such. It's like having someone tell you they love anime and they go to anime conventions and you automatically assume they're into hentai, which yeah, some might be, but not every anime fan is. It's there, but it is far from everyone. Food has its perks, to be honest. In my personal opinion, just making conversation, don't want to kink shame or judge. Food is actually not that bad. I once put cream all over my ex, and I liked licking it off. In general, I think it adds another sense to the s.e.x.ual dimension. TBF, I also have to admit that you have to be really horny to have food in bed, otherwise it's just weird and unsettlingly gross at times, but if you are in the right mood, it can be a powerful addiction to the whole experience. Totally agree about the furries though. The squirting videos when the girl is just pissing and not even having an orgasm. The amount of people who can't tell it's fake, it's astonishing. Anyone who's been to college or medical school and taught human anatomy in detail knows there is no squirt organ. It's not there. There is no hidden organ or bladder that's been overlooked in decades of detailed modern study using all the various imaging equipment. It has not been missed or overlooked. The only thing down there that can hold any appreciable amount of liquid and release it like that is the bladder. It's piss, and yeah, it takes me right out of the scene because I just wanted to see a woman have, and now I'm a witness to her voiding her bladder. A lot of the scenes have guys vigorously finger banging the woman, apparently putting pressure on the front of the vaginal wall. I tried this, though more gently, with my partner, and she told me to stop. She said that it felt okay, but it made her feel like she had to pee. I remember when this was an obsession with guys in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and I saw it and had look up more info on it. It's just piss. There is no squirting of vaginal fluid. That's not how it works. We can't squirt though our vaginas. Hilariously, there's even lots of articles citing studies that, yep, it's just pee. Took me all of 15 minutes to find out. This stupidity has lasted years. I didn't get it first until the first time I hooked up with my future wife. I was not a fan of seeing it in porn, but in the midst of the act, she looked me dead in my eyes and told me to spit in her mouth. In that moment, the hottest goddamn thing. It's still to this day not something I like seeing in porn, but when we're going at it rough, it's always a request from her, and it's just one of those things that's hot during the act. During the early days of pandemic paranoia and masking, I briefly had a fantasy fetish about women spitting into my mouth. Not surprisingly, there is a whole porn subgenre about that. It probably links in with domination and submission fetish stuff normally, but at the time it was just a release from going around paranoid about encountering other people's aerosol droplets while shopping. Imagining hot strangers drooling into my mouth was very arousing in the decrepit state of mind I was in then. I don't think it would do anything for me now, but I wouldn't find it overly disgusting either if you're having your sharing and tasting all kinds of fluids anyway. Violence, choking, gagging, face slapping. I don't get it. I am saying that watching girls gag and choke and cry and throw up and get hit and it doesn't look like they're having a good time doesn't interest me. I answered the post question. I wasn't making a plea to end spanking. I just don't participate or watch that looks demeaning or not welcome. Y'all do what you do and have all the fun. You get spanking though, right? It's like that but with other parts of the body. And it doesn't have to be violent if it's done in a loving and safe environment. Choking is very intense and intimate for me and just a light but tight hold. It's very exciting. The only gagging I'd do it from deep throating. I guess that could technically be choking too, haha. But I like to be able to speak, so ball gag and stuff like that isn't for me. Face slapping isn't really for me, but I can kinda see the appeal. Little taps might be a bit higher. When they got only their shoes, socks on. What the favk? That's like the first thing I take off. Also, why you got your shoes on in the bed? In high school, I managed to be not as cringy as my usual self was and somehow talked a girl into going back to my house. My dad worked late and older sibling was away at college, so I had the place to myself for hours after school. We get to my place and things are progressing as smoothly as a nervous 17-year-old can make them until we move to my bedroom. I hadn't noticed she left her shoes on. She sits down on my bed at the foot and proceeds to place one leg on my bed, shoe first, onto my favorite, super comfy, childhood pillow. I was taken aback, and before I could even say anything, she throws her other still shoe-wearing foot onto my goddamn pillow. And that's when I noticed she'd stepped in something as it was partially stuck to her shoe. I promptly told her to get the favk out of my house. I still have that ragged pillow, can't sleep without it. Bare feet or socks would have been one thing. I actually dig feet a lot, but shoes, with what I hoped was mud or something, just no. When you're busting one off to a porn vid, then when you're finally getting to that coming stage and it randomly shows the dude, gets me every time. Why do people watch straight porn if they are afraid of men's body parts? Genuine question. I see jokes all the time about the scene cutting to the dude as you bust, but why not just watch lesbian porn then, if it's that off-putting? The facial. I don't get the appeal. I think it's a power thing for some people, or just people who are used to porn. I don't get much out of it because most girls don't really enjoy it, and if my partner isn't having fun, neither do I. But I will qualify it by saying I had one girl who was really into it and had so much enthusiasm, and well, I could get used to that. The rest of the time though, it won't live up to the hype. Anal. I just don't understand why guys want to do that. Every guy I've dated almost expects it. It is painful and honestly a little gross. And I have a vagina for a reason. Like, I understand some people like it, but to me it's just really painful and humiliating. I don't mind it, but I hate how mainstream it is. Men will ask or even try to force it on the first s.e.x.ual interaction almost 100% of the time. Like, sir, you haven't even made me orgasm yet. You need to earn the right to get to the point where it's even okay to ask me if I'd like to try. I also hate when it's a fetish and your boyfriend wants it 100% of the time. Again, I don't mind it every so often, but it's so physically draining for a girl and you need to be expecting it, preparing for it both physically and emotionally. I've only ever enjoyed it if the female did. A few of my past partners wanted to try it, and I didn't object. The sensation was different, not necessarily better. It was definitely more exciting at first because it was new. After some time, I couldn't tell the difference. I'm married now, and my wife has never brought it up, so I won't either. I would hate the idea of making someone I love feel humiliated. Rough blowjobs that are extreme with drool and saliva all over. Sorry for the mental image, for me it decreases the sensation and is kinda gross. One time an ex in college and I were getting into it a bit and she asked me to turn my computer on and we should pick something out on the hub that we should try. We watched a rough blowjob vid and then it was our turn, and like 10 seconds in she had already started gagging and eyes watering. I stopped her and was like, no, this isn't going to work. Eating. It's just yuck to me, and I don't get why everyone thinks it's so hot. You're literally cleaning someone else's hole. As someone who does, if there is even the slightest bit of dirtiness, it's a no-go. It's something I only do if she is fresh out of the shower. Sometimes even using tools to clean inside as well. If it's clean, it's literally no different than licking someone's wrist. Tastes like regular skin, just happens that it feels very good for her. The hotness is just the taboo and weirdness of it, not anywhere related to dirtiness. One of the worst mistakes of my life was eating an ex when she still had TP stuck there. Never again. Anal. My girlfriend practically demanded it, even though I was obviously not eager. But hey, so we tried, with a moderate amount of prep. In the end, I got poop on my. She wiped it off though, all sly when I wasn't looking, as if trying to get it before I noticed. I did, just didn't want to make her feel bad. Even on my end it feels like taking a dump. So nah, I'm good. I didn't grow up in this era. I'm married with kids now. The whole obsession and stuff is beyond weird. Girls always bending over, spreading their cheeks, showing their hole like a dog, pulling plugs out of thigh and licking them. What the favk? Poop comes out of there. Guys and girls eating ass. Quotes like, would you eat my clean? What is actually happening? Do you screwballs realize poop comes out of butts? You're eating fecal matter. You're disgusting. Stop it. Sloppy blowjobs and the whole deep throat gagging thing. A girl who sounds like she needs to be Heimlicked does not turn me on. A Hinnylick, Odo, is something I'm very occasionally down for. But I've gotta be really turned, and it's gotta be one seriously beautiful waxed and cleaned butthole, so basically a lot of analysis before partaking.